This is the food we're going to be giving the quail. Usually I restock every few days, and they just kind of graze, you know, they're kind of grazers. They just eat whenever they feel like it, and I kind of spread it throughout the entire aviary so that nobody fights. And yeah, it's been really rainy, really wet and muddy lately, so that's not been good. But I'm gonna sit this down for a minute, and before I go into the aviary, I'm actually gonna explain something real quick about the chickens. There's a reason why we cannot just put the chickens in with them. They're tiny, and the chickens would probably bully them and not allow them to eat the food, and also they require different food, and it would be detrimental for the chickens to eat the quail food or vice versa. It would cause, over time especially, it would cause nutrient imbalances and things. So we're not going to be able to put them in here. There's no other place that we can put them that's safe other than the coop for right now. What we are, you know, dealing with right now is a group of fledged firebirds, and this is just the most recent, one of the most recent kills left over, should I say, from the most recent kills. Way beyond in the distance you can see a different older kill. Let's see, where is that? Yeah, that's the sad wee little bones from one of our hens. And normally, you know, I forgive. Normally I'm very forgiving, because I know that especially fledglings need to, you know, learn, and they're not afraid of humans, and they need to learn how to hunt and all that. The problem is that typically a fledgling eventually has enough sense to move on and expand their horizons. What has been happening with these Cooper's hawk, or Cooper's, it's a type of buzzard, and what's been going on with them is that they have bountiful wildlife to choose from. Lots of squirrels, lots of songbirds, lots of anything you can imagine they have access to. Hares, just a lot of different things that they could use and utilise really nearby. But they're fledglings, and this particular type of buzzards, you know, the parents do not teach anything to their offspring. And so basically what you have here is you've got, you know, an issue where they just kind of have to rely on their own instincts and teach themselves how to hunt, right? So in that scenario, when they're, you know, like that, I think it's only about 30% that actually make it and survive and learn how to hunt. So they found very slow prey that they could catch. A lot of these fledglings should have died off by now because they do not have proper instincts. They've got very poor instinct. Some of them I think will survive, some of them will not, because they are utilising the chickens, because the chickens are extremely slow. They're utilising that, and believe me, our faster chickens, they can't even catch a faster chicken, much less a songbird. So they've been relying on our chickens and our chickens alone, nothing else, 100% relying on our chickens alone, and not actually teaching themselves how to hunt. Okay, I feel quite ashamed because this has upset the balance of nature. You know, there's a reason why only 30% of Cooper's hawks survive to adulthood. And I have in part been, unknowingly so, been instigating and creating an imbalance with that particular species of buzzard. So basically I unknowingly, you know, have allowed 100% of all the fledglings that made it old enough to fledge out and leave the nest, you know, I've provided 100% instead of 30%, and who knows how many times for how many years this has happened, because I've had them now for 5 or 6 years. I've had, you know, they're protected, so you cannot, you know, and I wouldn't do this anyway. I wouldn't have the heart to. They're protected, so you cannot, you know, it's not like you can shoot them down or anything. But like I said, I wouldn't have the heart to anyway. So this is the solution I came up with. And I have no idea whether or not it's going to work, so I actually researched it and found out some forums, different forums and things that told me that actually sometimes it can work. Did you hear their sad little cries in there? The chickens, you hear them crying, wanting to get out. They are literally cooped up. Poor little things, just want freedom. So what my plan is, this particular species of buzzards needs to eat and feed every single day, or they starve. Within less than a week they can starve to death. So they're going to get really hungry really fast, and if they sit around here waiting on chickens, they don't have the metabolism to just sit and wait on the chickens to come out. They're going to have to flee. They're going to have to find other places. There's no choice. They're going to be forced to go somewhere else and look for prey. During that time, this is such a rural area, I'd be widely surprised if they were able to find someone else's free-range chicken flock. So that means that now it will reset the balance. At least with this year's brood, it will reset the balance. Because now, if had they succeed and master in that instinct, the hunting instinct, and actually be able to catch wild prey, then immediately only 30% will learn and the rest will die off. It's nature's way. I don't like it really per se, but it's nature's way of balance. And so, you know, this is actually a quail left over from a snow quail that it actually was able to, I don't even know how it did this, get an unsuspecting quail through that mesh. The quail was resting up against the mesh, not paying any attention, and it just surprise attack, you know, just bombed it from above and got its talons in there. Couldn't get the quail out, but killed the quail, and the quail died right beside the fence. And then I tried to bury the quail, and that didn't work, obviously, because something dug it up. But anyway, you can't bury anything around here because it always gets dug up. I've been looking in the trees. I've been looking, especially because they used to just, you know, the fledglings, they're dumb, they don't know any better, and they used to think they could fly right through that, and they would a lot of times just crash into the side of that. So I've been looking, and they'd sit here for hours. They sit here alongside that for hours, and just circle on the ground, walking back and forth, pacing, you know, and just staring at the quail. So I thought to myself, okay, if they're still here, I should see them either, you know, somewhere around there, or somewhere up in the trees, or somewhere, you know, somewhere, you know, fairly obvious, because, like, again, what I said, they're fledglings and they don't hide. Anything that's recently fled does not know enough to know to hide. And yeah, we've got a few zebra finches in there as well. Finn and Piper, I don't know if you remember them from earlier. We got, you know, a pigeon in here as well named Thunder somewhere running around. And all of that flying and running around, that's what's attracting them to this, all that movement inside here. And luckily, you know, it was just, you know, a couple times that they're actually able to snag the talons into something through this mesh. But you know, well, everything that I've been told is, and I was gonna plan on doing it for a week anyway, is that to really make sure that they're not still hanging around hopeful every now and then. They could be every now and then flying, you know, high above, you know, in the sky, trying to see if something is out. And so you know, from a distance. And so everything I've been told is wait at least a week before you release them again out in the open. So because I'm a softie and I feel like, you know, 100% inside here, you know, yes, it's plenty of room, but I still feel like 100% of the day inside here for 20 chickens. I just don't think, you know, it's you know, it's better than a lot of industrial cage-free farms. They got more room than that, but I just don't. My heart can't take it. They all crying to get out, and so what I do at the end of every day is, and you'll see that in a minute, at the end of every day, right as at dusk, right as the buzzards are going to sleep, I let them out for a good 20 minutes or so. And I watch them the entire time so that nothing can eat anything, but, you know, just to make sure. But they should, by that time, should be asleep anyway. And so they get to stretch their legs and their wings a bit. It was happening every single day. Something was getting taken. I had no choice. If I wanted them to live, that was the only way that they were going to live. So we got a bin there, one pretty nice size, decent sized bin there. That's always under the covered parts if it rains or whatever. And then we encourage enrichment and scavenging and enrichment behaviour by putting a lot of it just in piles, different places. And believe me, they will find it. So it's just a good thing of enrichment to kind of interact with one another, not have to fight over food, and encourage foraging behaviour. So yeah, I don't want them to get too depressed, so let's get them out just for a little while I'm out here at the end of the day. And then because they got a homing instinct, they'll just go back in on their own when it gets dark. So of course they got plenty of food and water and everything. I just feel bad. So this is what I do at the end of every day. You know, it's a waiting game. It's, you know, unfortunately, if you don't wait long enough, then you'll have to do the entire thing all over again. So it's worth, you know, being patient. They definitely are getting a little mad. They need to spend like some of that energy, some of that pent-up energy. Hopefully they can go back to be free range all day long in about a week.